Guy, the sheep industry, is it in good heart?
Well, it's had better times. We're down to 29 million sheep in the country now. We've sort of dropped below the magic 30 million, which is a bit of a concern. Lots of good things happening, farm IQ and developments along the way. They are finding new innovative ways to increase production. And probably the biggest thing that stopped the decrease in the sheep industry is the downturn of the dairy industry. So the options of moving out of sheep to other more attractive options have become limited in the short term. But there's still some fundamental problems with what farmers are receiving for their product. And so, one of the things we're looking at is alternatives to a traditional lamb production to try and create more profit for sheep farmers.
So are you suggesting that we go away from meat and wool and into sheep dairying?
Well, no, I'm not saying move away from meat and wool, but I'm saying there's another string to your bow and get into dairying. Yeah, and the sheep dairy industry is quite keen on setting up, well, the group I'm involved with, setting up protocols where we do rear the lambs, we don't euthanize lambs, and so there's a win-win for the meat industry as well as the sheep dairy industry. And you can produce wool on the side as well.
The Guy, most people would say sheep dairying, yeah?
I actually heard Joni Williams on Origin Earth on one of the farming programs recently talking about the hardest people to convince are sheep farmers. And I can recall in my previous life as a farmer going out docking and forgetting our milk. This often happens, and it never occurred to us to milk the sheep to provide our milk. And so I do understand where that reticence comes from, and it seems to be pretty ingrained in our British background, even though the Brits did have a background in sheep dairy going way back, but it's more of a European concept as opposed to a British concept. And so, with our strong British background, we do have reservations around milking of sheep. But having said that, it's gaining real traction. New Zealand's in the vicinity of having 30,000 milking sheep in the country now. It's still not up to goat numbers yet, but it's catching up, and goat numbers aren't decreasing. They're over 50,000. So there looks to be the start of a viable industry occurring in New Zealand.
Plant. Where do you get plant from?
Well, we have a small dairy farm set up at home, at our place, and we actually got goat plant from the goat industry. And I think that if people were setting up for new plant, going to the Waikato and talking to the people who manufacture the plant for goat farmers would be very comparable to sheep farming. Might be some subtle changes. The sheep arguably is a slightly bigger animal, the East Frisian is anyway. There may be a bit of lengthening in the plant, but by and large what works for goats works for sheep.
Now you mentioned East Frisian, are they the breed of choice?
Yeah, that's really the only option. Jock Allison, when he brought the East Frisian and the Awasi breed into New Zealand, the Awasi being a Middle Eastern breed, fat tail breed, that's also a very good milk producer. And the Israelis actually have a breed called the Asaf, which is a combination of the East Frisian and the Awasi, and it suits their conditions very well. And they both have different strengths and weaknesses. The East Frisian is more of a dual-purpose animal, probably got better feet than the Awasi, which is relevant for New Zealand conditions, but it's also reasonably prone to lung infection, viral pneumonia particularly. I think that as the breed has developed in New Zealand, it's improved in that regard, but it's still an issue. Where the Awasi, possibly slightly less production, certainly less lambs, a hairy wool, and it's not as big as the East Frisian, but a combination of the two might be a useful mix in the future where they can complement each other. But there's very few Awasi available in New Zealand. There is a flock in the North Island, in the Hawke's Bay, but they're pretty much tied up by their owners for the live shipment trade into Australia, or genetics for that, from what I understand.
So here at Lincoln you've got your heart and soul in it and you're researching it.
Yeah, well, my passion is the sheep dairy industry. We've put a lot of our own money into it at home. We don't have a unit here on Lincoln as yet. Be nice to see one for small ruminants, sheep and goats. I think there's a place for it. And so we do a lot of our research around modelling, be it through different computer-based modelling, and we can replicate a farm pretty well with that. And so that's what we use to do our research around sheep dairy. Having said that, our students do get exposed to it. We have a southern tour. We take our third year students around the southern part of the South Island, through Southland, and we almost invariably call into Blue River, or Antares Ag is their sheep dairy side of it, the farming side of it's called, and spend a morning on the sheep dairy farms there. And we're using our block at home, which is 20 minutes away, to take selected students out and introduce them to the sheep dairy concept out there as well. So while we don't have a lot of presence of sheep dairy here at Lincoln itself, we do expose the students to them, and I am managing to brainwash a few along the way to the ideals of getting into sheep dairy. And it's surprising how receptive the students are. They see the potential as a leg into an agricultural industry without having to fork out a lot, and it's a really good way to add another string to the farming bow, so mum and dad and the children can come home and have different parts of the farm by having these two different industries working together.